I have been coaching Apex now for about, gosh, I guess about 4 years, both just, amongst friends or people that wanted to learn the game. And, you know, did youth esports for a little while, had a lot of fun with that. Um, won a national championship doing that, got second the year prior. Ended up coaching GVL, which stands for Geeked versus Locked, at the ALGS Open. It was a fantastic experience. Um, something that I really, really enjoyed. Um, then moved on to work with Ronin, which is a team out of EMEA, which to this day I still believe is the single scariest fighting force to have ever existed in the game. Rest in peace, Ronin. After Ronin, as you know, I've have been working with TSM. Very briefly, I am going to kind of pull up my Wikipedia page. It's not something that it's like, oh man, this is amazing. It's definitely one that I hope to improve on. But this is my page. Um, we did okay at the Open, 74th. Ronan finished 12th, and a 29th finish for the pre-Sapporo ESCL scrim, and a 7th place at champs. And as you look at this, something that I really kind of want to be clear is that this is not a stellar record by any means, right? But what I really wanted to do with these guys is approach some teams that were potentially struggling, potentially were looking to improve, that were hungry to improve, and we pushed it as hard as we can. So with these teams, with Ronin, I was with them for a couple of months, maybe 3 months, something like that. With TSM, I came to them 5 weeks before champs, and with both teams, I actually approached them um, because they were struggling, and so I hope that as I spend time with more players and as I learn and improve as a coach myself, you'll see these numbers come up to a little higher and higher every time. But every single opportunity has been just such a pleasure to coach and just to experience. I love competition and I love this game, so it's been really cool to just to experience, man. So that's me. Let's talk about you guys just a little bit. Um, Obviously, we all love Apex. We're all big fans here. What are some things that you guys have as goals for yourselves? What do you want to do with the game? Is it something that you just kind of like to play with your buddies? Is it something that you want to take you to college? There are scholarships that are available for Apex players. Or is this something that you want to push as hard as you can and maybe make it pro yourself? What are some things that you guys have for your own personal goals with the game? Feel free to unmute and speak, or just hit the chat if you like. Either one is just fine, and that's
Hello.
okay. Hey, look, hey, go ahead, man.
I I've been playing this game for literally years now.
Oh,
Been having so much fun. Always looking to improve. Um, like this season, I hit master for the first time because I always
awesome.
solo queued. I would love to make it to challenger circuit and try this. Try
That's
to go
fantastic,
pro.
man. Well done.
That's why and I'm like, I try to implement movement as much as I can because I love iPads because of the movement, and I know it's hard to use it in a competitive environment, but I want to create a way to use it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Well, let me. If nobody has told you yet, let me be the first one to say congratulations, hitting masters for that first time, man. There's nothing like it. Um, I remember celebrating with my buddies the first time that I hit it myself. So congratulations and well done. And as far as the movement goes, man, I think there's definitely uh, a place in the competitive scene for movement lovers like yourself. And I'll talk a little bit about that with my experience with Ronan here in just a minute. Um, but yeah, as far as making it to the pro scene and having goals of working through Challenger Circuit, man, that's definitely something that is super attainable, at least to play through Challenger Circuit. Have you got a team that you've been working with, or are you looking
Uh,
for a team now?
I'm looking for a team. Actually, I've been joining lately a lot of Discord servers, but
Yeah,
I've been playing. I'm from you, but I've been playing a lot on NA. So I play like on 150
yeah.
ping, and just realized like the other day was talking to one of these guys that I'm playing with to play Challenger Circuit. We looked for it, but we can't play together because they are from NA and I'm from uh, EU, so we can't play together. Didn't
Ah,
know that, so I need to find new people. Don't know a lot of people from you that are
yeah,
willing to do it and to actually try it.
for sure. Well, if I may, then I know there are definitely region specific servers. What I would recommend is uh, hitting EEC first and just hitting the general chat and say, hey, can anyone send me some EU specific servers so I can scrim on good ping? They'll definitely respond to that, especially the admins over there who are fantastic, by the way. Sparky, Escape, Alex, everyone at EDC is awesome and very responsive. So definitely check with them. Um, there's probably some EU guys in the EEC server as well, and really that's where every serious scrim is going to be happening. So um, one of the ways that a few people have actually been able to make it pro without going through Challenger Circuit, and I'm not saying this is easy to do, but they've grinded their MMR up through EEC and kind of made a name for themselves as being a competitor. Um, it's also one of the first things that really serious people check when you're trying to team with them is, hey, what is your MMR on EEC? What is your experience like on there? Definitely check that out.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, of course, man. Would anyone else like to talk about their goals for the game, or their experience with it, what they're enjoying now?
Sure. I'm basically I played since season 8. I My goal though for Apex is to play it professionally,
Okay.
and I want to go to an ALGS eventually as a player. And right now I'm not ready yet, but I want to reach that eventually. And even if it takes me a while, I still want to do it. Even if I only can play for like a year, I'd still love to, just because it's everything else just doesn't sound that appealing. If I can play a video game professionally and make money off it, that's like a little kid's dream. So
That's
I
it,
guess I'll
man.
just continue with it.
Totally hear that, man. And honest to God, that's exactly kind of where I was at. Is I just wanted to be involved with the game at the highest level possible, because there's nothing like it, man. Still to this day, just playing ranked or even pubs, I get chills from in games. Even if it's not the sweatiest in game in the world, like there's nothing like Apex, man. So I totally get it. If you can make your living with that, why do anything else, right? Um, so as far as your approach to that, man, what are you doing uh, to compete? What are you doing to kind of get your name out? Are you playing CC? Are you trying to play the open? What
Um,
you got going?
so I right now play with my team SBA. We are playing in a lot of like separate tournaments. I think that are smaller. I think.
Okay.
If my good friend Reaper would like to unmute, that might help me a bunch. But
Yeah, I'm here.
he's my duo. Dude's been dude's been the most my favorite IGL so far. So if he wants to tell you about tournaments that we specifically do, he can because he knows more about it. He's the one who signs us up.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
man. Far away.
I've just been going through like Battlefy and stuff, finding whatever tournaments we can do, getting the experience, getting our name out there, stuff like that.
100%, man. 100%. As far as scrim servers go, where are you guys scrimming?
Um, we're pretty new to tournaments, so we haven't gotten into that yet, but I'm looking for some
Okay.
servers.
Nice. Fantastic, man. Okay, well, once again, let me make some recommendations, right? Um, Tournaments are great for experience, great for, kind of boosting your Liquipedia points, because having a page is definitely something that's um, going to be beneficial for any type of career that you're trying to make in this. Um, so definitely play those. Definitely play them for the exposure, especially tournaments that are going to be streamed or that major streamers are participating in. Definitely play those. As far as getting better and making a name for yourself in a competitive atmosphere, I would 100% try to get involved with EEC scrims. And it's not like, oh yeah, I love EEC, I'm a big fan or anything like that. It's just that there is nowhere more serious or competitive um, currently than EEC. I would play those as often as I can. You're not going to get in every day because hey Lou, you're on camera, hon. Sorry about that. I thought I had the kitchen away. There we go. All right. So definitely get involved with EEC scrims as often as possible. The spots are coveted. Don't piss off the admins because it's something that you can definitely kind of make or break a reputation with. But get involved with those as soon as possible. Their Discord server is online. You can just search EEC Apex Discord, join that, start competing as soon as you can. I'm actually gonna see if I've got any others here that are a little bit more active. Nobody is going to be more active than EEC. If you are looking to play maybe some lower um, skilled tournaments, I would give Three Peaks a shot. Look up Three Peaks Apex and check those out. They don't scrim as often as they used to, but they definitely do scrim. So check those out. Another one that is really, really good, and these people are absolutely the homies, man. Inferno Esports hosts an Apex scrim server. They play scrims all the time. They're really nice. Definitely check those two out. And when you feel like you're ready, you're winning some scrims, you're getting a lot of top threes at some scrims, you're top fragging some scrims, go play EEC and see where your skill level is at, because those are the guys that are genuinely next up. If all of tier 1 ceased to exist, tier 2 is ready to fill those shoes. They are really good, and I'm sure that you guys are going to be right there and ready to put your hat in the ring soon for sure.
All right, yeah, that
Great.
sounds good. I'll definitely look into all that.
Do it, man. Awesome. Do we have anyone else that would like to? I think that may be all of us that are in here right now, and that's totally fine, man, because I love this. We're a pretty serious group, and we want to be the best that we can be, man. All right, let's talk a little bit then. We're all pretty serious guys. We wanna play professional Apex. Let's talk about maps a little bit. What's our favorite map? What map are we best at? What map do we hate? What are we thinking? Genesee, what about you, man? What's your favorite competitive map?
Competitive, I really, really love playing e-district.
Okay.
I did some really good district streams with some really juicy end games. Really had so much fun because I usually IGL.
Okay.
I usually play Alter on the district. She's like the
Nice.
best one. I think like Alter on the district is literally the best pick for me.
Totally agree,
And
man.
that's my favorite map, and I really hate like competitive Olympus. I don't think that should be competitive, and not counting obviously like what's it called, Kings Canyon.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. They actually, I may be leaking some stuff here. Hopefully not, but they actually put it to a vote with the coaches and the players on whether or not Olympus should have been played at champs. And
Yeah, and they said that, and they choose Olympus over Broken Moon, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, they I'm not sure how much I want to say about that. There were definitely some votes that maybe, shouldn't have been listened to, um, over others. But It was kind of interesting to see it played at champs, but I couldn't agree more. Very difficult map to play competitively and really difficult to strategize around as well. What about you, SBA guys? What do you guys like to play?
My personal favorite map to play for tournaments and ranked is Storm Point.
Ooh, good. That is my favorite too. Why? Where do you like to land? What do you like about it? How do you play it?
Um, I like to land on either like the wall or more towards like the left side of the map. Like North
Okay.
Pad through like Cenote Cave. Kind of on that side of the map.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm not a huge fan of the like right side of the maps, mainly because when you're fighting, it's a lot of third parties over there, and it's a lot of times an uphill fight, which
for
is just
sure.
kind of annoying to deal with.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Good observations. And there's definitely a ton of truth to that as far as the difficulties and benefits of the map goes. So, if we're on E District, if we're on Storm Point, right? This is our map. This is where we want to be. We've got our POI. What composition are you guys playing? Let's say we're at Wall on Storm Point. What composition do you guys like from there?
Um, I like to run Valkyrie always, right? Very
Okay.
good for rotates. I can hit the survey beacons, find out where enemies are. You know, Normally I'll also have like a controller on our team, whether that's like Caustic, Catalyst,
Okay.
one of those two mainly.
Yeah.
And then I'll also have a Newcastle or a Lifeline. Mainly Newcastle though, just because of his wall. It's so good.
So good, man. So good. Definitely. Love that composition and very on target for the meta right now. That's definitely what the guys who are kind of considered the best to ever do it are doing, especially early game until they get to bans, right? So, have you guys played band scrims yet? Have you experienced what that's like to be able to, or not to be able to have your favorite pick kind of taken from you?
No, we haven't played bands yet, but
Okay.
I've kind of been thinking and preparing for that. Like what legends we should play, how we should switch our comp, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
All right.
did I did play with bands, and I actually found out that like I played for 3 years on roller on PS4,
Yeah.
and I switched like 6 7 months ago on MNK, and I found out so many legends are better on roller, and so many legends are better on MNK, and just getting my halter picked and don't knowing what to play
For sure.
after that, it's really difficult, like because you get at some point of the game that what do I play now? That's not meta. I don't know how to play around this legend with this
Sure.
team. I didn't practice this.
Yeah. I totally understand, man. It's very difficult to realize that you are out of your comfort zone and forced onto something that you don't feel like, hey, this is my best that I can roll with. So we're about to get into the kind of the meat, right, of what I consider my current, right, because it changes all the time. My current professional philosophy as a coach regarding composition, right? So many teams, I think, fall victim to this idea that they have to play a certain composition, that this is the meta and I have to play this or I'm throwing. And I think it's backed up uh, even in tier two and in some of these other tournaments, especially when you're playing with people that you don't know on a personal level. That if they disagree with what you think is the best comp, then maybe you have to play something different, right? But I think you guys were spot on in saying, right, the Valkyrie Newcastle Caustic, especially if there has not been a ban yet, is meta, right? So I'm going to give an example, and then when I'm going to talk about why I don't usually agree with a hard meta for all teams, right? So let's say we're Valkyrie Caustic Newcastle, right? And we're in a highly competitive lobby, right? There's not going to be 12 teams in zone 4, right? There's going to be 16 teams in zone 5, right? Something like a pro lobby, okay? So Towards the end of the game, everybody's they're either holding zone, they're playing edge, they're starting to hold choke points as people are rotating in, right? If they see a zone pull, did you guys watch Champs? Did you see it pull back to pylon right there? What did everyone do that had a Valkyrie on their team?
They just buckled it
They
safe.
just Valkyried it, right? So here comes 8 different teams all at the same time, right? So when you're in the air with Valkyrie, what is your assurance level that you're gonna survive the Valkyrie, right? Sometimes it's pretty high. Other times it's a toss up. You don't know. And what happens, right, if they're in all of your available spots, right? Where do you land? What do? You have to send something, right? And that's where you see these times where, potentially even the greats like Imperial Hal, uh, Nicewig would say, well, they just fed face. They landed somewhere and they died instantly for it, right? So what you started to see in the scrims that were leading up to champs was less and less teams playing Valkyrie when Valkyrie was available, right? And it didn't happen on every map, but it did happen quite a bit. So for my personal teams, and what I would recommend to you guys as well, we don't follow the meta ever, really, unless it's working for us, right? So with Ronin and EU, if you guys go back and watch, and if you did a little bit of research, you would find out that what Ronin does is not traditional Apex, or what Ronin did, right, is not traditional Apex at all. We ran it down. We would hit the ground, grab some guns, and run over into professionals' faces and just absolutely dunk on them. And everyone got really mad about it. They were like, "Oh, you guys are not playing realistic. You guys are doing the wrong thing. That's not how you should play. You guys are brain dead, right?" But then we turned around and we did it in ALGS as well, right? But why did we do that? What was the point of what we were doing? No shade to any of my former players, right? They're all fantastic players. But what we experienced is when we tried to play a harder zone, right? We struggled, right? We struggled with understanding, not with understanding, but finding playable space in games and maintaining that, right? So what we were really good at, we identified, was we're fantastic team fighters. So we just team fought from the second our feet touched the ground. And if you go back and look at our point spread, okay, so which is how many points are scored by placement versus how many points are scored by killing, almost the entirety of our points were scored from KP because we were good at it. So we got rid of the things that we sucked at, and we leaned heavily into the things that we were really good at. And so as going fast forwarding to TSM, we figured out that we were struggling deeply in our late game scenarios on the Valkyrie specifically because, right, let's say, we're on E District, Genesee, right? One of the best maps, and let's say we're at City Hall and it's a shops pull and it pulls towards the bridge, right? Something that's going to get a little hairy for a rotate. If you Valcult right there and there are enough teams around, right, you completely lose your ability to dictate the end game. You lose your control of being able to apply pressure or control entire sides of the map. You have no choice but to what? Just queue and slam somebody, right? And that doesn't always work out. So what TSM did is we leaned heavy into the fact that we want to control in games better. We want to be able to make those micro rotations better. So if you go back and watch the games, TSM didn't play Valkyrie a single time at champs because it wasn't what we were best at, right? So all of those examples to say, if you guys find out that there's something that's not working for you, don't be afraid to say, hey, let's do what we're good at instead. Even if the meta is screaming that you have to do something different, it's not always the best play if you are personally better at something different. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Oh, maybe not. Maybe somebody's mic.
Can I ask a question though? If that's
Of
okay.
course. Yeah.
Let's say you're playing a playstyle like hard rank, like you go to zone every time. What if you want to play more aggressive? Like I saw mainly, I forget what team it was, but two teams that I like a lot. and that my teammate agrees with is Alliance and one other team I forget the name of, but
I'm
they would
pretty sure
run down
Concorde.
everybody.
Yeah. At
I
champs, they were
I
running down everybody.
I like running down everybody. I think that's how I would want to play. If you're
Okay.
not good at it,
Yeah.
because right now I'm not the best gunfighter.
Okay.
Would you say do what you like more than what you're better at, or would you say do what you're better at, then do what you're more fun for?
When I say, do what you're better at, it you definitely have to take into consideration your own personal enjoyment for the play style. There have been professionals who have temporarily retired over their hatred from meta, right? So if it's something that you're just straight up not enjoying and you hate it and you feel like it's not sustainable for you, and we'll talk more about that in just a second, sustainability, right? But if it's not sustainable for you on a day-to-day basis and you just hate it, don't do it. Do what you think is more enjoyable. Now, if you really enjoy something that you're not good at yet, right? How do you improve that? Let's talk about that for just a second. If you'd like to run it down and you need to get better at team fighting, right? There's two things that you can work on. One would be your own personal mechanics, your own personal micro positioning, um, micro movements, things like that. And then your understanding of how the game is moving around you. In addition to that's all very ambiguous language. Let me rephrase this. Right, you can get better at shooting your gun by shooting your gun. You can get better at staying alive by applying pressure to a team, right? Shooting your gun and focusing on not dying, right? If your team as a whole is struggling to team fight, right? The number one thing that I would recommend for that team, and I could almost guarantee that this is their main problem, is you are not communicating enough, right? If there's something that you personally need for a fight to go well and you guys are running it down and your team is not they're not doing the thing. Why didn't you swing me, man? I had that guy cracked. He was 1 HP, right? Did you communicate to your team effectively first what you wanted to do, what you were going to do, and what you needed right now in that moment for it to be effective, right? So, uh, I know I'm just saying a lot of words here. What I would recommend if you want to run it down is run it down with your team often in ranked and make sure that that's working first. If you're running down people and it's going well and you're doing that in ranked, it's probably going to work to a certain extent in scrims until you get to pretty high tier scrims. And then people are going to make you bleed for it. Now, how do you get away with it if people are making you bleed, right? Well, if they're anticipating you to send in 60 seconds, you send in 40. If you're anticipating that they're going to go and get this juice, you rat the juice and you kill them for it, right? Or you play a composition that puts them in a position into an unwinnable position, right? As an example, I really, really, really loved playing Maggie into the Newcastle, right? Because what happens when Newcastle slams? Bam, right? How soon before that energy comes up? Because it's not up immediately, right? So if Newcastle slams, bam, Maggie ball comes out immediately. Everyone behind that wall is getting booped and stunned. And then they're going to die, right? If you've got the right fraggers on your team. So definitely do what you enjoy, do what you're good at, and focus on fixing the problems that you've got if you identify them. You know what I mean? All right. Who else? Who else wants to talk about a composition that they love, a play style, anything? I think this is just kind of free roam for a second. Feel free to shoot.
When I played with some of scrims, I didn't play a lot of scrims, but I played a bunch. Uh, Many of the times I was telling my teammates to just play their main or who they were comfortable with,
Yeah.
because they were like playing anchor, they were playing support, but they couldn't because it's not the playstyle, it's not their legend, and it
Yeah.
just goes bad at that point. Like I had this teammate that would a console player was just ego challenging everyone. He's got the aim to do it, but in scrims it's not the best thing.
Yeah.
And he wanted to. He wasn't the best shooter of the team, so he wanted to go for an anchor. But every time we told him to do the anchor to watch our back while we were watching the rotation or doing something else, he like forgot about it and started shooting at something else and got a team on our back and get us killed.
Yeah.
So like, play your playstyle, your legend. Don't force it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. 100%, man. And it's always difficult when you're playing with people, like I said, that you don't know on a personal level, um, to mesh as a team. As an IGL, because I'm actually really glad that you said that, right? I think we've got a few IGLs in here right now, right? If you've got a team that you're not confident in your gunplay as a team, how can you still come out on top?
Taking the fight, not a straight fight. Like, you need to get the advantage before starting the fight.
Okay,
Maybe you are in safe and they need to come to you in the open
for
or
sure.
something like that.
Yeah,
Get an opening first.
find an opening, absolutely. Third party things for sure. As far as play styles goes, right? Playing zone, playing edge, playing a hybrid style, which one do you think would be more effective for teams that struggle as gunfighters?
I personally don't think I'm the best shooter, so I will go for a hybrid. Like
Go for a hybrid.
I didn't play as many scrims, so I can't play hard zones. Like, I can't predict those good zones, and even if I can, I can't hold that much space. I don't know how to do it. I'll just
Okay,
get a team on my back focusing me, and I'll get pinched eventually with
for
no
sure.
loot.
Yeah,
So I'll probably gonna go on like playing zone, but on the side of zone.
yeah. Well, if you are an IGL who struggles to make zone reads, I would highly, highly, highly recommend using one of the data services for zone pulls. There's a really good analyst, goes by the name of Katzen Luna, that has some free data tools out there. There's also another one by, I think his name is, everyone just calls him CAD. I think his name is AutoCAD, something like that. Definitely check him out. And just look up like AutoCAD Apex data or CAD Apex data, Cats and Luna. And I'm actually going to put that in the chat right now. There you go. All right. They do a really good job of capturing scrim data, and they have paid versions for it as well. Completely worth it. Feel free to do that. That show you all of the pools for the last, 100,000 games, right? And you can make these reads. It'll show you the ring pools. There's also another really good ring guesser tool and historical rings as well on apexlegendsstatus.com. And I'm putting that in the chat. And these are tools that I use every single day for my teams. Especially pulls that are maybe 50-50s or pullbacks or things like that. You can look at these historical pulls and find some indicators that, like, okay, this zone is going to play this way, this zone is going to play that way. If you're not confident in your team's gunplay, I would not recommend that you try to play an edge or even really a hybrid. I would get really good at zone play, right? And when I get to the end of zone, I would consolidate my space. I would play smaller. I would look to punish chokes. I would look to punish people for making positioning mistakes, right? As opposed to forcing, maybe random people that I've never played with before to try and, pull up their bootstraps and become an effective fighting force because it's just not going to happen. An effective IGL can put a bad team in a winning position, right? But that kind of all relies on your experience of how the ring moves around you and how the game moves around you. So definitely something that you can work on as an IGL. The best tools to do it with are the data tools, a couple of them that I've listed right there. So definitely check that out, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right, let's talk about something that I don't think gets talked about enough, right? Is warming up in the firing range. How do you guys typically warm up? What do you do? What do you shoot? How long do you spend in the range?
I'll get on me for this. I usually just run like TDMs.
Okay.
It's like the best way for me personally. The range is cool, but like I find it really boring. Like I'm just not shooting an actual person, so like I don't
Yeah,
lock in as hard as if I were to do a 3v3.
that's fair. I understand that. All right. What about the rest of you guys?
I up on either like 5 minutes on the firing range and then going for wild card.
Okay. Love that. Love that. Love a good wild card. Love a good TDM. All right. All right, because I don't, I will probably talk y'all's head off for multiple hours. A nice guy, if I'm running out of time, let me know here. But for the firing range, I would highly recommend that you guys, whatever time that you're spending in it right now, spend a little more. I would almost recommend that you just go ahead and double it. Right? Here's why. In TDMs, you have a selection of guns, right? Yes, maybe you're on an emotional level a little more locked in because you know that I'm playing against this person and the dummies are not real. However, you cannot change that gun to all the different configurations that you may experience and may need experience on to be as effective as you need to be in those moments, right? I'm saying a lot of words. Let me rephrase it, right? If you pick up a naked R9, that is not going to be as effective as a blue R9 that you may see in a TDM, right? If you pick up an alternator, right, and you put all the attachments on it and you get it rolling, double tap, right, that is going to feel differently than an R9 that you may see, or excuse me, or an alternator that you may see in a wild card or in a TDM, right? So the purpose of the firing range is to make sure that you're effective on multiple configurations of a gun and that everything feels natural, right? Now, am I saying that you have to go pick up a devotion and spend 30 minutes shooting that and making sure? No, definitely not. But if there's are guns that you're using on a regular basis, pick them up, shoot them naked, put an attachment on it, put a sight that you don't like on it. Try it in multiple configurations so that you're going to be highly effective with those. Another reason why I really, really, really love the range, right? Oh, I see a chat. I will answer that in just a second. Another reason why I really love the range, even with pros, they do not spend enough time working on this. And any of my players that are watching this on my stream right now are about to laugh a little bit. You should be throwing sky nades, vert nades, up downs, as Duplex would say, right? Every single day. I would recommend that you throw at least 50, but most of the time I'm throwing 200 plus sky nades every single day. Why? Right? Because exactly like Genesee was saying, what you're looking for as you're coming into fights is an opening, is an opportunity, right? There is nothing that's more effective, not even a Gibby ult to the dome, than a 300 banger nade on somebody's head. And there is no defense in a lot of situations for a frag to the dome, right? So if you become really proficient at arcing those sky nades up and landing them on somebody's head, that alone is enough to win a ton of fights for you. And I know that you think like, I'm pretty good at that. You can get better. And I know that you think, hey, uh, you know, I don't see pros doing this and that. Every team that I've ever coached has spent time doing this after I mentioned it. And if you go back and watch the champs fights, several fights that we won came from Panic opening it up with a multi-hundred banger nade, right? Definitely throw those every day and don't treat it lightly because that will win fights for you faster than anything else, right? Because the rest of the stuff takes time. Learning to land those on somebody's head, you can learn that in a day. And then all of a sudden, hey, maybe that's 3 more fights that you win this week in scrims, right? Definitely spend more time in the range, okay? All right. Nice guys sent me a VOD review that I think we're going to look at in just a minute. But first, let me take Jammin' Joey and see what would I say to do if you're in a funk and not playing as well as you normally do, maybe a few days long. Well, first of all, and this is something that all of my teams hear about from me as well. As a player, you can't treat yourself as just this, unstoppable murder machine and I should be on my best at all times and if I don't, I suck. I literally said that today and I had to stop myself. I missed a shot that I should have hit and I was like, God, I'm terrible. I suck, right? But first of all, you've got to be kinder with yourself, but second of all, how is your hydration? Are you getting hydrated every day? How's your diet? Are you eating in a way that prepares you to be able to compete at a high level? Are you abusing caffeine? Are you abusing alcohol? Are you abusing nicotine? Are all these other things that may affect you on some level? Really analyze yourself from the perspective of, you know, I have to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do personally to perform at a high level. And sometimes you do all of those right, and you still kind of feel it in a funk, man. So definitely be kind to yourself. Definitely spend some time self-analyzing. Play something that you think is fun. Take a break for a couple of days, right? And come back to it with a fresh mind and some confidence. Um, Find out, like I said, hey, the best characters that you enjoy, play those characters. Like Genesee was saying, play a TDM, go top frag a TDM, and build that confidence back, so that you can come back to it from a headspace of, hey, I am good at this. I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna talk more about that in just a second. The chat from Mr. C, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I'm a big Panic fan as well, man. And with TSM, and this is kind of answering both of you here. With TSM, from the very first time that I came to them, the first words that they ever heard come out of my mouth was, "We're winning champs." Um, because when I came to them, I think their confidence was a little bit shaken from some scrims that didn't go their way. They were arguing with each other some. They were struggling a little bit. So the first day that they ever met me, man, that I told them we're winning champs, straight up. We're winning champs, and that was the intention lowered down to the very last second when it pulled back into pylon. The very last game, the intention was to win. Um, yeah, I don't know if you guys go back and listen to the comms, but it wasn't just at that moment that we decided that. It wasn't just, hey, we hit match point and now we've decided to win champs. We woke up every single day and we hydrated and we got our nutrition right and we spent time in the firing range and we warmed up and we treated everything that we did from the perspective of, I am going to win. And I think outside of Apex, right, everything that you do has to be done from that perspective of, if it's worth my time, it's worth doing to perfection. If it's worth my time, it's worth overdoing. It's worth doing perfect. Um, and I think that's a wonderful way to live, man. If it's not worth your time, don't do it. Do something different. But other than that, go hard. Approach every day as you want, from the perspective as you're going to win. Yeah? And that'll change your life, baby. All right, let's get into a VOD review just a little bit, unless anyone else has any other questions. This is a good time to do that if you have them.
Ooh, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I play like hard zone most of the time I play because like my team necessarily like I don't think we're like the best shooters. We're good shooters, we're just not the best. So
For sure.
it's not worth 3v3ing all game long. So I get hard zone. But sometimes I have these times where like we're in zone most of the game, but then it pulls off of us. And then when we have to rotate into zone for that like end game zone, we die. Like I don't know if it's like the comp or things like that, but we get caught on the rotation into zone because we're
For
not
sure.
like. But it's not necessarily like our fault for not being there. It's just that's how the ring pulled or whatever. How
Yeah.
would you recommend getting into that zone quicker and safer?
100%, man. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. I think the best way to do it is to watch people, like you were saying, a big Panic fan. Panic, even though he's my player and I'm coaching him, has been a fantastic influence on my gunplay recently. So I watch a lot of Panic and I see what he does, and then I go into ranked and I do that too, right? Not as good for sure because Panic's the GOAT, but that's what I try to do. So for your example, you end up in a spot that you don't want to be in, and you're trying to get into zone, and maybe you're getting held out. Who would I recommend as the best at that particular scenario, right? Now, make no mistake, there is no professional team that ends up in a situation by accident. Either they made a read and it was incorrect in the moment, or they are there because they intended to be there. So keep that in mind as I say this. But Alliance, go back and watch Alliance at Champs and look at what they do. Go back and watch Alliance, maybe not at Champs, because they struggled some at Champs, but at regional finals for EMEA. Go watch that. It's on Faceit. Do you guys use Faceit? Make sure you have Faceit available. And you can go and watch those VODs because they're up, and it's one of the best tools that you can possibly use. But what Alliance wants to do and how they play their game is they want to end up deep on edge, right? So if there's a zone here, they can play zone and do on certain maps, but if there's a zone way down here, they want to be over here, and they want to work in late, right? And they want to end up in a scenario that puts them on the backside of a zone, right? And that they can fight one team, kill them, and be in a spot to win the game from a power position, right? So let's say, for instance, and I can probably pull up some maps and stuff if I need to in a second. If y'all are not understanding, stop me and I'll pull up a map. But let's say we're on Storm Point, right? One of our favorite maps, okay? And there's a pull that goes to, let's say, like Launchpad, right? Pull goes Launchpad. Where does Alliance typically land? Ooh, that's a good question. Who's a ball knower here? Who knows ball? Where does Alliance typically land?
I'm pretty sure they like to land North Pad.
Okay. They do like to land North Pad, but specifically Ferrari, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll talk about that here in just a second because I think that's a very interesting scenario. But excellent answer. They do land North Pad. So if there's a launch pad pull, Alliance will take their time and they'll make sure that they're purples. So for you, I would recommend that you make sure that you are purple as you're coming into these in-game scenarios. There's a ton of different ways to do that, right? But try to be purple as you're coming really into zone 5, right? Into zone 4, zone 5, try to be purple, okay? That's going to make your life a lot easier as you're trying to fight teams that are potentially holding you out, right? Second thing, I would make sure that you've got a character that can hit a UAV, or as the big homie Monsoon says, the dude scan, right? Make sure you've got a character that can hit the dude scan, okay? Hit that dude scan closer to zone and identify a team that's alone or potentially in a spot that's punishable, right? And then go try to punish them, okay? Go and fight them. Go and apply some pressure to them. Because when it comes down to it, if you find a fight that's pretty isolated like that, it's just one fight. And honestly, if you really think about it, it's just one kill before you turn it into a 3v2 scenario, right? So that's what I would recommend. Don't force something, but find the loose piece and find where you can make yourself more effective in in-game. Have you guys played Jenga before? Yeah?
Yeah.
The little wood game where you press the blocks, right? You don't press on the block that's hardest. You don't press on the block that's moving. You find the loose piece. That's how you make yourself more effective on in-games when maybe you guess the zone wrong. Yeah? All right, let's get into a VOD review really quick. Night Sky was kind enough to send me a VOD to review. Where we landed here? Who can tell me the name of this POI?
Amber Clubs.
Absolutely right. Very good job. All right, let's say this is a competitive environment, right? We're playing for whoever your favorite team is, Alliance, FaZe, TSM, and this is a moment where you're having to be sharp and on the gun. I'm your teammate, and you need to talk to me. Here we go. Let's say we get a pull down to Humbert, all right? Where are we expecting to take pressure from first in a competitive environment?
Probably
Town.
Old Town.
All right, Old Town, definitely potentially Old Town, but if it pulls deep, Old Town is not going to be as willing to fight there, right? So where's the nearest balloon that could put some pressure on us?
Stadium.
Stadium. That's my man. All right. So this is not pulling to us here, but if it was, we're at least aware of where the pressure may be coming from. Okay. This guy is Masters here. So we may be anticipating some of the pressure from a competitive environment because people are more willing to fight in Masters in general, right? But your first answer is absolutely right. If the ring doesn't pull to us, Old Town is definitely going to be our first pressure. Let's see where he goes here. And we're going to watch this back a little bit faster. Did you guys know that there's a study done on cognition and understanding of a video playback, that there was no drop in cognition from 1 time speed to 2 time speed? So as you're watching your VODs and stuff, don't be afraid to watch it a little faster and stop and rewind as needed. But he's doing a little bit of looting here. We're going to scoot ahead just a little. All right, and what's he looking at? Pressure from Old Town, right? You love to see it. Okay, let's go back to normal speed here and see what he does. Everyone's white. Doesn't look like he hit a dude scan here, but that's okay. Is this a mistake? Should he have hit the dude scan?
I would say
Depends.
yes.
Depends. All right. I kind of like that answer. I'm not going to lie. Kind of like
Like
that answer.
if I pull zone and it's on my landing spot, I
Uh-huh.
like to keep my dude scan for later
Okay.
in the game when I need to rotate. Like with
I,
Sparrow, I don't need to get to the dude scan. I just
yeah.
throw the dart, so I'm always safe to do it.
All right. I kind of like that answer. I'm not going to lie. I probably would have hit it here because these, as far as I know, are not teammates that he is communicating with. His name is actually Silent Gaming, and he mutes his teammates, and that's his whole thing. I would not recommend that you do that. Definitely information is worth it for the teammates to know, even if he feels like he doesn't need it. And I do think, obviously good player here, right? He's going to be aware of the potential for pressure to come from this location. Okay, so let's see what he does here. Taking his time, looking for an opportunity, gets a dart down on the right side to make sure that nothing happens that he's not at least aware of. And now we're ratting a little bit. I'm with it. All right. Doing a little bit of slow walk up, maybe baiting them a little bit. All right. From this perspective, okay, how close are his teammates to him?
They're
Are
pretty
they close?
far.
Pretty far, right? If we're ranking and we're trying to get better and we're solo queuing at this point, given that he's playing the Sparrow, I hate this positioning. I really, really, really don't like this. And he looks back, I think, to check and see where they are. It ends up working out this time, I think. But if you're playing a character like Alter, Wraith, something like that, even if he has ult here, I think this is a much more comfortable scenario than where he currently is. Let's see what he does here. Definitely hear him. And he takes the time to mute his teammates. Definitely super confident. Maybe they were being a little annoying. I don't know. Ooh, what a spray. All right, from this perspective, we have a 3v2. So we're expecting our teammates to come in 100%. What does he not do here that would be a major mistake? He actually plays this really well.
It doesn't overcommit.
Doesn't overcommit. You are on it, brother. I love it. Doesn't overcommit. Allows the team to get there and apply pressure. Still doesn't quite have ult yet. Throws a fantastic sky nade. It was right on the money. And then applies pressure to an already weak team who die. All right. Awesome. I love to see it. Now we're going to rotate out. Okay. We're going back. We saved the dude scan, which it does work out. I think both options were viable here. But for the shields alone, I would recommend that you use all of the utility available to you. All right. I skipped it, but he does see somebody on the dude scan here. They are looking for a fight. All right. From here, this is a high tier lobby. Let's say it is. Let's say this is a pred lobby, right? And we know that. Okay. Is this a good fight for us to take? Potentially, right? I'm not going to make you answer that. Where is pressure coming from if this fight takes a long time?
Out of the edge zone where you'd have to rotate to.
Yeah, edge of zone you'd have to rotate to. Let me ask a better question. Who is this as far as a POI? Is this Slums? Is this Stadium? What team is this that they're fighting?
Probably Stadium.
potentially stadium, potentially a solo running away from something different, right? But definitely, we're anticipating some pressure from the edges on. All right, given their posturing, this is definitely not a solo, more than likely a full stack. Good shots on him. Good micro positioning to break LOS. Yeah, what a spray. All right, from here, what happens if he comes up the zip and rips this sparrow on this corner?
He'll
It
force
gets this.
the people playing on it to have to move off.
It would if the wall was not energized. Because the wall is energized, what would have happened to his ult?
Oh, if he came, okay, if he just jumped off the zip line, then it would have destroyed
Yeah,
his ultimate.
destroyed his ultimate. If he rips it right here, after it gets energized, he would have destroyed his ultimate, 100%, right? So, very intelligent play here. Look at this. Steps behind the wall, waits on the team. Sparrow ult is down. This team is dead. Love to see it. Very intelligent use of his utility. Love what he's doing. I don't actually know. Is this somebody that's involved with Concorde, or is this just a video that we found, Knight? Okay, awesome. Love to see it. Giving us a dude scan here. Why do we want that? Because we're anticipating pressure from the edge of zone. All right. Definitely want to talk about this very quick. For the teams that I've, any team that I've ever worked with, it has at least been a consideration for me on the quality of their gunplay and their team fighting ability. If I feel like there's a decent chance that they're not going to win, a team fight, I tell them, don't play tunnels, right? Why do I tell them never to play tunnels, right? Because if you go into a tunnel and you're fighting a team, even if it's the best third party of all time and it's on a silver platter, what do
Mhm.
you know about what's happening on the side of the tunnel that you just came in? Without a dude scan, without a dart, something like that down, what do you know about what's happening behind you? Nothing, right? You lose control of the game itself by committing to what may be the most perfect third party of all time, right? So I know this is ranked. I know this is not a super competitive atmosphere, but I want you guys to just keep in mind. First of all, he's aware of this. He's at least aware that the tunnel may be able to apply some pressure that he's not prepared for. He doesn't overcommit to this because he doesn't have fantastic information on the far side. But I want you to watch what he does in the middle of this. It's slow coming, but it will come. All right. Those of you that are pretty high level guys, you already know this fight is taking too long. You can feel it. And look at him look. He starts to feel it too. There it is. All right, what did he just do with those darts? He protected his back, right? Which is a huge consideration here. He doesn't have uh, a good egress. He doesn't have a good way to retreat from here, right? So he protects his back with the darts and continues to apply pressure here. He still has an ultimate. He's still looking for an opportunity, okay? In my opinion, he stayed way too long in this fight. If this is comp, if this is scrims, they probably should have disengaged a long time ago. Let's actually go back to when they first start the fight, and I want you guys to tell me when it gets uncomfortable as far as how long the fight is taking. So this is first contact here, and just tell me when you are personally uncomfortable. All right, for me, it's right about here. I can feel the pressure on the far side of the tunnel. There's a juice there. I know somebody wants to third this. 11 squads. Huh? Okay, I'm gonna treat that as you're uncomfortable there. All right. So definitely don't want to spend too long on fights like this, especially in tunnels, especially in comp. For ranked, maybe you limit test it, maybe you just have fun with what you're doing, right? They end up getting a little bit of KP here. You love to see it. We're gonna watch one more fight here. Who can tell me where this zone pulls? Pull the low side shops? Does it pull up towards height? I still got you guys?
I think
Still
it's
with me?
gonna pull more towards heights.
Okay. All right, we posture up on the
Actually,
choke. Go
I
ahead.
think
Kind of
it
like in the
was.
middle between where
Uh,
he is now and heights
I think
almost.
it was like here a little bit more on the left of his ping
Okay.
because it isn't touching the boulders.
All right,
Maybe
good
it is.
observations. Let's see where it goes here. All right, it pulled kind of down towards the shops a little bit. All right, with the edge of height still in. All right. All right, so let's go back. Let's talk about a couple of different things really quick. All right, I think C asked a minute ago, right? What happens if the zone pulls away from me and I'm having a hard time getting into it, right? From this screenshot right here, what if they played the low side and it pulled over here? How difficult is their rotate in? Potentially pretty difficult, right? They may have a hard time getting in there. Okay. If they decide, hey, there's a fight down here and we're going to third party this, okay, and then it pulls back shops, all right, there's not enough teams to really make this as effective or make that a huge mistake, right? But let's say there's way more teams and they take a fight here. How is their rotation getting back across the bridge, back across the river? Probably pretty difficult, right? So as you're in these games yourself, and as you're competing in these games, if you don't know 100% where a zone is going to pull, I want you to think about, okay, what was going to make my life more hell, right? What's going to make my life more difficult if I decide to play a certain location here? I think for them, right, they probably could have played the low side shops and been just fine, but there really is no downside to pushing towards the height a little bit. The rotation down from height back into the shops is a pretty good rotation. They have a good ability, especially with this composition, to apply pressure onto these buildings here, right? Once they take those buildings, they have decent pressure on the low side as well. Okay, so make sure that you're taking into consideration, hey, if I don't know exactly where this is going to pull, because there's several different pulls for this zone. There's one that ends up here, here, here. I've seen it end way out here before as well. That's been about a year, but a lot of different opportunities there. Make sure that you're playing from a spot that is going to allow you to have a safer rotation in or something that's going to, kind of let you apply pressure onto weaker positions. All right. Let's watch the end of this real quick. All right, a teammate down. What do? Do we disengage? He's got a lifeline there. He keeps pressure up. Good nades. This is a must-win chow here. All right, I apologize. He's trying to get him reset here. He does get him reset. Let's see how he approaches this in game. 5 squads left. Probably a team on the height. We do get the pull here. Love the pressure, love the aggression. He gets knocked. All right. Let's say they didn't have a horizon on their team. I don't know, we've been talking about very different things as far as comp and ranked goes, right? Let's say he gets here, and this is, something ridiculous. This is a Gibby. This is a Mirage, right? Something like that. Did he make a huge mistake by challenging this door? I would say
Uh,
the answer is yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, right? Because nobody can get to him at this point, okay? If you're solo queuing, if you're ranking, make sure that your team is able to swing off of your angle. Actually, he's not communicating with his team here, as far as I know. Make sure you're communicating with them. If you're about to take a risky play, let them know, hey, I'm going to swing this. Swing on me. Play on me. Play on me, right? Everything that you're doing, everything that you're seeing, everything that you're shooting, make sure you're communicating all of this, right? Because he really gets his bacon saved by the fact that a horizon can get to him. Excuse me, he doesn't get his bacon saved, does he? But they do get the res here. So when it comes down to it, I do think that was a mistake. All right, they've got a horizon. They're prioing the low ground for now. They're going to let it pop off. Let's see what we're hearing. Somebody missed a sparrow ult. All right, it's going down to the left. We definitely want to apply some pressure to this. Who wins this game? If these are all professional teams and it's all full stacks, who wins this game? Let's say there's still 2 teams here. White team, the building team, our team. Who wins this game?
but the I think should be
Yeah, should be the height team, right? So a commit onto this building means what are they playing for? Is this team playing for the win at this point?
not
No,
second
they'd be
place.
playing for second.
They're playing for second, right? So make sure in these moments where you're like, man, we're trying to win, but you're in a competitive atmosphere, right? Make sure that you understand playing for second is a viable play, and that needs to be communicated to your team when it comes down to it, right? You guys know that. You guys are all pretty high level. Just make sure that it's something that you are communicating. Just because you understand what you want to happen doesn't mean that your team understands the same thing here, right? So a commit here is definitely making a decision about our placement for the end game. Right, is keeping pressure on the low ground. The building steps up a little bit. I don't love his posturing here, I gotta say. I would like to stuff that a little bit harder or go ahead and, yeah, queue up just a little. Maybe dead here, boys. And we are dead, all right? So let's talk a little bit before we stop about how we could have won this end game. We know it's popping off on the building. Okay, what do we need to happen for us to be successful here? No wrong answers. Feel free.
I would have played on the stairs.
Could have played on the stairs. I like that. Height potentially has a heady on the stairs, but it's a good idea. What else could we have done? All right, let's say this is still 4 teams because it definitely popped off on this building, right? Let's talk about the timing there a little bit. How could we have been more effective?
I mean, they just stayed there. They didn't do anything. They just waited them to.
Tennessee is preaching. You don't realize how much you are preaching. Pro teams are guilty of this too, of having a scenario where there are no good options, right? If they send height here, height potentially has an advantage because the tall building is still in. They can't just queue up and play the ledge because the top of the building is potentially just going to shoot them, right? You also can't commit to the building because height can very easily step up and then you're screwed, right? So, when there are no good options, what do we do? Okay, TSM ran into this problem. Ronan ran into this problem. Every team I've ever coached has run into the issue of what do we do when there are no good options? You take the option that gives you more KP, right? You go to the option and you drag some people to hell with you, right? Make sure that if there are points still possible for you to gain, 3 KP on the left here is way better than no KP. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they're having a great game here. They're up in RP. Not my point. If there's an opportunity for us to come out even more positive, take that opportunity. Because that's going to be better than what happens, which is us dying from this scenario. All right. All right. Excellent video. Night Sky, thanks so much for sending that one, man. I hope that you guys were able to get something useful from that. Side question: how's my experience setting this up with Concorde? Seamless. Easy peasy, man. Night Sky's been great. Everyone's been super fun and helpful. I do apologize. I have run a little bit long. If anybody needs to drop, that's totally fine. Sure thing. Couple of questions here in the chat. What would I share with younger kids getting into the game? Gosh, man, like I said, I could talk y'all's head off. It would be midnight and I would still be talking. But for younger kids getting into the game, Apex is deeply punishing. It is a game that is not at all accepting or forgiving of mistakes, and that's really difficult for especially for the young guys, um, because the tiniest little thing can get you killed, especially as you get to higher and higher levels. For the young guys, I would focus on, and I know you hear pros say this all the time, or at least you have in the past. When you ask them, how do I get better at the game? Brother, I would just run it down on ranked. Straight up. I would find a couple of buddies that I trust and I would just run it down. And I wouldn't worry about what my rank is or even if I ended the season bronze, right? I would just run it down and run it down and run it down and run it down. The only difference that I would recommend that I think a lot of pros don't really consider is pull up a spreadsheet or a journal or a notepad or something like that. And every time you die, right, I want you to write down what happened, okay, and how I could have fixed it, right? Because whether you realize it or not, you know, every time that something happens in this game, you're learning, you're improving, you're getting better. So for the young guys, first of all, make sure that your settings feel comfortable, and I can talk about that briefly in just a second. Check your settings, go run it down on ranked with your buddies, and just have fun. And when you start getting better, then worry about macro strategy. Then worry about, well, what are pros doing? What is the meta? What should I be doing? Right? Once your gunplay is kind of where you need it to be, and your understanding of just the gameplay mechanics are a little better. Just have fun with it, man. Apex is a beautiful game, and we're blessed every day we get to play it. Can I talk a little bit about my experience at Champs this year? Champs was absolutely amazing. I think, because of media and everything, and so social media and you know YouTubers, there's this impression that there's a lot of beef between players, that players don't like each other. Yeah, I'm sure everybody sees a video of pro players crashing out on somebody or a player talking shit or talking trash or something like that. But nobody was like that, man. Everyone was very cordial. Everyone was very, very nice to each other. It was just like a bunch of guys hanging out, guys and girls hanging out. And in, just doing what they love, which is playing Apex. So man, camps was fantastic. Some of the things that I don't think everybody gets to see that I wish they did, and that's not a question. I'm just adding to it. Right? Is there was a lot more drama, not really drama, but just pressure and strategic thinking on the POI drafts that happened in between rounds. Right? So from the group stage, like groups A, B, C, and D, we knew our POIs 2 weeks before champs happened. So we had time to practice on them. We had time to get better at them. But after that, right? So going into winners bracket, going into elimination round 1, elimination round 2, they had the POI draft every single time. And so there was a lot of pressure on where you actually finish in the previous round because it affected your draft positioning. So you have to take into consideration a lot of different things, and that's why you have a coach involved, right? Because they, the coaches are ready for this, right? But there's a lot that depends on, okay, well, what do we anticipate the band to be based on the personnel involved in this particular match? Are there more teams from EMEA involved in this match? Are there more teams from EU involved in this match? How is NA trending? How is this blend of players trending for the bands, and how does that affect where we want our initial POI to be, right? So like for instance, if we're anticipating a Valkyrie ban coming out early and the first map is Wedge or something like that, right? Um, Teams that struggle with rotation or that want to run it down on Edge, right, may not play the Valkyrie early because they're anticipating contributing to the ban, right? What does that mean? Let me elaborate. If Valkyrie gets banned early, teams will force fights on Edge when they need to come through a choke point and have no other option, right? But if you're not playing Valkyrie, or you know that a couple of teams are not going to play Valkyrie, okay, Valk may not get banned, and then you just have teams that Valk ult and leave so that you can play more comfortably on Edge, right? So something that I really, really wish that the general public was able to see is all of this strategy. They put us in these little, you know, uh, closets, and we're all in these little dark corners strategizing. And there's paper flying everywhere, and data, and notebooks, and it was just so much fun, and something that I really wish people could have gotten to see. Um, maybe I'll sneak a camera in there next time so that you guys can experience that too. But I know I am way over time. If anyone else has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. All right, I think that may do us. Let me leave you with one little tidbit before we go. Um, guys, the way that I approach every team um, is I come to them and I tell them the same thing that I was telling you guys before. We are going to win, because that frames everything that you do from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to sleep. Um, do I grab a 3 monsters for breakfast, or do I make sure that I've got some protein and I'm hydrated? Um, do I go out and do I do this potentially dangerous thing with my buddies, right? Or do I make sure that I'm physically capable of chasing my goals and my dreams, right? Do I stay up super late? Did I stay up at 3 a.m. and get up at 7 for school, and then I'm screwed, with fatigue by the time that it's for time for scrims in the evening? Framing your day from the perspective of I'm gonna go pro, or I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna get this degree, right? From the perspective of I'm going to be successful influences everything that you do. So if you take nothing else from what I've said here, make sure you take that from it. Your day starts when you open your eyes, and with the sum of our experiences, right? So if you have a bad day, the sun always rises tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? But wake up, make a decision. I'm going to be the best that I can be. You know what I mean? Guys, thanks so much. I sure do appreciate you. Um, Feel free to reach out. I'll help however I can. And I know that you guys are going to go far. You seem like a serious bunch.